Have you ever noticed how genuinely weird procrastination is? Like, let's be honest for a second. Right now, as you're watching this, what are you actually supposed to be doing? Is there a tab open on your browser right next to this one that you've been ignoring for 3 hours? A textbook? A blank document? An email you've rewritten 4 times in your head? Think about the sheer amount of energy you've spent on that thing today. You've spent hours thinking about it, worrying about it, planning how you're going to do it perfectly later tonight, imagining how good it'll feel when it's done. And, of course, feeling that deep, heavy pit of guilt in your stomach for not doing it right now. And somehow, after all that massive mental exhaustion, you're still sitting here. You haven't even opened the file. If that's you, I want you to take a deep breath. Seriously, drop your shoulders. I'm not here to yell at you, and I'm definitely not here to call you lazy. Because if you're anything like me, this isn't a laziness problem. This video is for the people who actually care. In fact, you probably care too much. We have been conditioned to think that procrastination means we are lazy, unmotivated, or just bad at time management. But psychologists have found out it's actually the exact opposite. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It's an emotional management problem. Maybe you are so terrified of messing up that your brain treats the task like a physical threat. You are afraid of failing. You are afraid of wasting your time and realizing you blew it. You are afraid of discovering that maybe you are not as talented or capable as you hoped you were. Or maybe you are afraid that you will pour your heart into something, put it out there, and nobody will even notice. And because that fear is so uncomfortable, your brain looks for an escape hatch. Suddenly, cleaning your entire kitchen or scrolling through a Wikipedia rabbit hole about 14th century architecture feels like a matter of life or death. Anything to escape that feeling of what if I am not good enough. And so, we become absolute masters at waiting. We tell ourselves we are just waiting for motivation, or waiting until we feel more confident, waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect mood, the perfect weather, or some mythical future version of ourselves who magically has their life 100% together. But let's have a little reality check here, peer to peer. That perfect version of yourself, the one who wakes up at 5 a.m., drinks green juice, and tackles a massive project with a smile on their face. They aren't coming. And I don't say that to be cruel. I say it because improvement is something you do, not something you wait for. Confidence doesn't show up at your door with a clipboard and tell you it's time to start. Confidence is the reward you get after you survive the mess of starting. Think about it like learning to swim. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a public pool, shivering in their swimsuit, looking at the water and saying, "Look, once I become an Olympic-level swimmer, then I'll get in. I just need to read a few more books on the physics of the backstroke first." You'd look at them like they were losing their mind. Of course you would, because the water is where the learning happens. You have to swallow a little bit of chlorine, flail your arms around, and look a bit ridiculous before you ever learn to float. The exact same rule applies to whatever you're avoiding right now. The work is where the confidence grows. The messy practice is where the skill actually develops. The awkward, embarrassing mistakes are where wisdom is found. Yet so many of us are trying to ensure our success before we're even willing to put our toes in the water. And man, it is a trap. A really convincing one. Why is it a convincing trap? Because it sounds so incredibly responsible. When you tell yourself, I'm not putting this off, I'm just doing more research, or I'm just planning out the blueprint, it feels smart. It feels like preparation. You get a little hit of dopamine just thinking about doing the work. But let's call it what it really is. It's just fear wearing a tailored suit. Sometimes we call it perfectionism. Sometimes we call it waiting for the right time. But underneath all those fancy names, it's just your brain whispering, hey, if we don't try, we can't fail. And yeah, trying is scary. But let me ask you a much scarier question. What if you never try? What happens then? Imagine yourself 5 years from now. I don't mean 5 years older, because getting older happens automatically just by sitting on the couch. I mean 5 years later. 5 years down the road of life. Imagine walking into a room and meeting that future version of yourself. What does that person look like? What do they say to you? Are they going to shake your hand and thank you for staying comfortable? Are they going to thank you for scrolling for another 2 hours today? Are they going to say, wow, I am so glad you delayed every single dream we had until someday? Probably not. More likely, they are going to look you in the eyes and ask just one question. Why didn't you just start when you had the chance? Look at all the time we lost. The real cost of procrastination isn't a missed deadline or a bad grade. It's the slow, quiet loss of your own potential. It's the book you never wrote, the business you never launched, the language you never learned, the relationship you never risked starting. Most people don't lose in life because they lack talent. They lose because they quit before they even hit the start button. All right, enough of the heavy stuff. Let's talk about how we actually fix this, practically, right now. If you are feeling completely overwhelmed by whatever task is staring you down, I want you to steal a trick that completely changed how I work. Stop thinking about finishing. Completely delete the word finish from your brain today. Instead, I want you to focus entirely on starting. We make things so massive in our minds. If you think, I have to write a 10-page research paper, or I have to completely overhaul my diet and fitness routine today, your brain panics and goes straight to YouTube Shorts. It's too heavy. So, change the script. Instead of, I need to finish this entire massive project, say, I'm just going to sit here and open the file for 5 minutes. Instead of, I need to record an incredible, flawless video, say, I'm just going to turn the camera on and speak one terribly awkward sentence. Instead of, I need to completely transform my life today, say, I'm going to take one micro step right now. Here's the secret magic of human psychology. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates motivation. We've been taught the wrong formula our entire lives. We think it goes, feel motivation to take action. But in reality, it goes, take action to get momentum, and get momentum to feel motivation. The hardest part of any task is never the actual work. It's the friction of sitting at the edge of the work. It's the 10 minutes of negotiating with yourself, arguing about whether you should do it now or after dinner. Once you actually cross that threshold, once you've been doing it for just 3 or 4 minutes, something shifts. The mountain turns into a path. The impossible becomes manageable. The fear gets a whole lot smaller. So, here's my challenge to you today. I don't want you to promise yourself a perfect future. I don't want you to write out a complicated 12-step morning routine. And I don't want you to make a list of 100 goals you know you're going to abandon by Thursday. I just want you to do one thing today. Just begin. Open the document. Make the phone call. Write the first terrible sentence. Put on your running shoes. Open the textbook. Whatever it is that you've been avoiding, do it badly. Do it imperfectly, but do it now. Years from now, you aren't going to look back and remember every mistake you made. You won't care that your first draft was messy, but you will be profoundly, deeply grateful that you had the courage to just start. The next time procrastination whispers in your ear and says, "Hey, don't worry, you can just do it tomorrow," I want you to talk back to it. Tell it, maybe I will do it tomorrow, but I can also do one tiny thing right now. Because every great thing ever built in human history wasn't built in a day. It was built by ordinary, terrified people taking small, imperfect actions, repeated day after day. And this small action you are about to take, this could be the beginning of yours. Thank you for watching. Now, do me a favor. Take that first step. See you in the next video.